G'day and welcome to the channel. In today's video, I want to share with you just how difficult bird photography can be and the challenges I encountered in making this video. If you've been watching my videos, you might think I've got some sort of magical power in attracting and finding birds. However, that's just not the case. In reality, I struggle just like many of you do as well. So I'll be honest in that I actually debated whether I'd make this video at all. I went out into the field on a number of occasions and I just didn't get as many nice shots as I'd hoped. However, I think it's important that I do share the images I was able to capture and the struggles that I went to capture those images, because I'm sure many of you can relate to just how much of a struggle it can be out in the field. So I reached out to Canon Australia and they were very generous in sending me the Canon 90D to test. And I only had it for a short amount of time and I really wanted to test it with the Sigma 150-600, which I obtained from one of my lovely subscribers, Brian. Thanks, Brian. So the pressure was on to get out in the field and capture some videos. So for my day job, I do get to travel around a bit, and after work, I've gone out to a new national park that I've not been to before. I had high hopes of creating a video and capturing lots of images. I've parked up, I've filmed the intro, I've captured some B-roll, and then I've walked around looking for birds. It quickly dawned on me that this location wasn't really suitable for photography. And after the fourth place I visited, I just had to give up. I'd spent 3 hours driving around, trying to find some birds, and I just ended up not taking a single photo. So it was a bit of a bummer, but I had high hopes because I had another afternoon the next day. So I've traveled to another town, and I've decided to go to the botanical gardens because generally that's a good place at least to get some wattle birds or some sort of honey eaters feeding on the native flowers. So again, filmed the intro, got some B-roll, started looking for birds, and again I started to struggle. I just couldn't find any birds, but luckily I actually did spot a native blue-banded bee, and I didn't really have any good photos of this. The bee was feeding on a rice flower, which is a very nice little shrub. So I had the Sigma 150-600 at 600 millimeters plus the 90D times 1.6 gives us that 960 full frame equivalent. So it's a lot of focal length. So it can be a real challenge even finding the subject that's in front of you. So once I can find the bee, I need to focus on it before it jumps to another part of the flower. So I was madly following and chasing this bee as it moved from flower to flower, taking a heap of shots. Luckily I managed to get a few that were sharp, and this one that you can see on the screen, it's actually a bit of a crop, but I was really happy with how this turned out. We can see the distinctive markings on the back of the bee. It's actively feeding in this beautiful flower, and I was pretty happy with how this image turned out. So I've taken some shots of this blue-banded bee, and then I've spotted a painted lady, which is a beautiful native butterfly here in Australia. And I've set myself up and I've managed to take a few shots of the painted lady. And again, I was really happy with the quality and the type of shots that we were getting. So I was happy I'd actually photographed something, but I was still looking for a bird. And I did actually spot a couple of noisy miners, which are fairly common here in Australia. And I did try to get some shots, but they were just flying away. So I was questioning my abilities at that point. But luckily this noisy miner's landed on a kangaroo paw that was flowering. But when I moved around to photograph it, it was pretty apparent that it was going to be difficult to get a nice background. So as you can see, there was a sign next to it. We've got a path behind it. We do have some trees, and it was just hard for me to position myself to get the shot that I was after. And you can see in a couple of these shots, the background's not quite right. And I also missed focus a few times where I've accidentally focused on the flower and the bird was slightly soft. Thankfully, there were a couple that were salvageable, and I did get one bird that was sharp. The only issue was I actually cut, or I was very close to the tail at the bottom of the frame. Luckily, I'd taken another shot, which had more of the bottom, so I've actually taken the bottom off another photo, stitched it together, which has given us this photo. So I was happy to at least had one in the bank that I was happy with. So I thought, all right, so we've on a bit of a roll, let's try and find some more birds. So I've walked down this big hill to this big lake, thought I'd be able to photograph some ducks, tried to photograph them, they just swam away. I walked through the bush, beautiful bushland I must admit, still looking for birds. I've then seen a swamp and I thought, oh, I'll go into the swamp, there might be some herons. So I've walked into there, herons just flew away. At this point I was hot, I've been walking for ages and I just didn't have any images. So after 2 full days in the field, I literally had one photo of a bird, one photo of a butterfly, and one photo of a bee. Nowhere near enough content to create this video. So I've obviously had to go out for a third time to try and get at some content for this video. So I've gone to a location I've been to before, so we should be able to get some birds. It was marginally better than my first 2 attempts, but again, I really struggled. I walked and walked and just, you know, it was just a real challenge. But I did manage to get some shots, and I'm going to share that footage with you now. I didn't get the shots I was exactly after, but it's important that I do share the shots I was able to get so you have some sense of what it's like out in the field at times. So I hope you really enjoy these shots I was able to take with the 90D and the Sigma 150-600. G'day and welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm just going to go for a walk with the 90D and the Sigma 150-600. It's going to be very casual. I'm not going to use calls. I'm not putting in expectations on myself. It's just a lovely Sunday afternoon, a great bush walk here in Warbys National Park. I'm just going to go for a walk and see what I can see. I've got plenty of water because it's quite warm, so let's see what we can find. Let's go. It's a songlark I can hear calling loudly. They usually stick at the top of the trees, so it makes it pretty difficult, I must admit. I'm definitely no flower photography expert, but the same techniques we use to photograph birds, you can use to photograph reptiles, flowers, whatever it is. It's a matter of getting the subject isolated, nothing directly behind it, get low, eye level with the flower, and you should be able to get some shots. So I've just noticed this bluebell on the track, and it's not that high off the ground, but it's isolated, and I should be able to get a shot. The flower's facing this way, so just getting low here, I should be able to just get a shot. When I get to minimum focus distance, which I'm at, just got to do my settings, and bingo. Should be able to get a nice shot of that flower with plenty of detail. Beautiful. So, happy day. Well, a lot of walking so far, no birds, but still beautiful. Oh, there's a bird. So we've got a family of yellow-tufted honeyeaters. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, the shots I took were ruined due to me overexposing the shots. I'm so used to the live exposure in the mirrorless viewfinder that I totally forgot to check. Here's the overexposed raw file, and as you can see, I've blown all the details. Just for fun, I've processed the shot just to see what we can recover. It's not too bad, but obviously I've lost lots of clear detail. All right, gonna keep walking, see if we can't find something. Oh. Did you just hear that? That's the grey Shrike-thursh. It's got a beautiful call. One of the highlights of the Aussie bush is that bird. Whether I can get a he's just in this eucalypt over there. He's a bit far away, but I'll just keep my eye on him. He might come down and allow us to get a photo. There he goes. So the grey Shrike-thursh GST flew off, but I didn't get a shot. I've taken photos of this beautiful bird before, so here's this previous shot that I've taken, and I hope you enjoy. It's a little bit more open now. If only this grass tree had a flower stem, that would be ideal. Oh, still going up. So definitely getting some elevation. I've just spotted an eastern yellow robin, but I've lost it. We've got an eastern yellow robin. He's just over here. It's in shade, so I'm having to overexpose it by quite a bit. Drop down. So there's definitely an east. Oh, there he is. This eastern yellow robin is another shot I'd normally delete, but it's worth sharing to show how difficult it can be photographing birds in shadow with a bright background. I was lucky that the 90D has allowed me to lift the shadows in post while retaining plenty of detail. I just wish we had some eye contact and those branches weren't quite so distracting. Okay, well, I've lost him again. It's really difficult conditions. When you've got dense bush like this and the birds are jumping around, it's easy to lose them, that's for sure. All right, we'll keep moving. Well, I've made it to the top of the Warbys. It was a bit of a long walk, a struggle in this heat, and very little birds unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. An absolutely stunning view up here. This is your classic Aussie bush. Just eucalypts and bird song, and that's great. There's a grey shrike-thursh over here. So I attempted to follow the grey shrike-thursh, but they flew off. So you know, if you can't get close to a bird, you're never going to get really good detail, and there's just no way around that. You just have to try and get closer or get more focal length, but I've got plenty today. Oh, it's been a struggle today, I tell you. Oh dear. So I was walking back, and out of the corner of my eye I spotted that yellow-footed Antechinus again that I photographed a few weeks ago, and it was scurrying around here on the grass, and I haven't had time to turn the camera on, but I've run down here and it's hopping around on these dead logs. Got a few shots, and then on the track here, I'll show you. So it then ran out onto this track, and it was kind of running up the track, and I was where the camera was, and I actually had to zoom out. It was getting that close, so it was a real struggle to focus on this little marsupial as it's running up here, but I think I got some shots of it until it saw me and then went, oh, and turned around and run off. So I'm actually pretty happy with that little session with that marsupial. So haven't had much luck with birds, but I'll take that. It's always exciting to see that little guy. Very cool. To keep my eyes open for another one. Oh, there he is. He's over the back there. Oh. Alright, so it's getting pretty dark in here now, but I've spotted a Dusky Woodswallow flying around. So I'm going to try and photograph it at a pretty high ISO, 3200, 6400, see if we can get any sharp shots at all. So I've just seen it on the side of a tree over here, so I'll go and try and photograph it over there. Alright, so we've got a few shots of a Dusky Woodswallow as it was perched on the side of the tree back here, ISO 3200 and then up to ISO 6400. So it's going to be really interesting to see if any of those shots are sharp. I know many of you have asked me to try it in low light, and it's definitely low light now. So we're interested to see how we go. I assume most of them will be soft, and whether we get anything decent will be a bit of a surprise, but you never know. So I was happy when the Dusky Woodswallow actually landed on a nearby branch, and I managed to take quite a few shots. I did have to do quite a bit of heavy processing to get the shot up to my taste, which I know isn't for everyone, but it just shows what is possible in post-processing. We've got a yellow-footed Antechinus on the side of this tree looking at us. It's really inquisitive, and I've managed to take lots of shots at different ISOs and different settings just to see how well it performs. That was a really good little session. So it actually was quite inquisitive. It was staring at me, which is pretty cool. And I managed to get quite a lot of shots. A nice way to finish the session, that's for sure. Well, that brings my walk to an end. I went up and down hills. It was hard yakka in the heat. It's cooled down now. I had a really nice time, you know, saw lots of things, saw plenty of birds, saw that little yellow-footed Antechinus again. Look, I struggled to get photos today, and that was to be expected. When you just walk around in the bush, it can be really hard to get the bird where you want it, and I discovered that today. I've got a few photos I was happy with. Overall, you know, the Sigma performed pretty well, I think. I had no trouble hand holding this all day. It's not that heavy, so you can definitely hand hold it without any worry whatsoever. The focus of the 90D, you know, it's not as good as the mirrorless clearly, and it does struggle at times when you're trying to find the subject and track the subject. It just doesn't do as good a job. But I'll be interested to see how the shots went today, what sort of photos I got, especially in low light. But overall, you know, it was good to test the camera and the lens in conditions like this, which is typical of what most people will be using this gear for. So, you know, overall a really good session. Well, I hope you enjoyed my struggles in this video. I think it's really important to share the struggles and the failures as well as the successes. I think if we just looked at social media and YouTube, you'd think people just got good shot after good shot after good shot, and this simply isn't the case. You know, often we struggle, and that's what helps us get better. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments, what failures have you had? How often do you struggle? Let's get that conversation going. I will read and respond to the comments. Look, if you enjoyed the content, please give it that thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. And if you're not aware, you can actually directly support the channel. There's a join button directly under the video. And for a small monthly fee, you support the channel, helps me create videos like this. And for those that are already members, I sincerely thank you for your support, and I really do appreciate it. Until the next video, take care and see you later. What that was, some big fish gave me a heck of a fright. Lucky we don't get crocodiles down here.